Hello everybody in the Solo Dojo group. My name is Artemio, AJ, and there has been a subject that we need to talk about, and it was brought up: stage fright. Now, some of us have been in various exhibitions, demonstrations with partners or by ourselves, usually in front of a big crowd, and obviously it can be very, very nerve-wracking, so to speak. And a lot of people will get very nervous and they'll start shutting down. Sometimes they'll feel like the walls are closing in. You'll feel like your heart is racing so much it's going to be beating out of your chest. I mean, these are very real feelings, and we all experience it. So how do we solve this? How do we counteract this? What's the best ways? Well, they kind of come in many different ways. Many others have their own way of solving this. Many have their way of training for this. As a former musician and also acted on stage, and I have done several other things where I've been in front of large crowds. Now, me personally, I have my solutions to it, or at least the things that I do, is usually by training, but training and only focusing on yourself. That's the thing that we train as martial artists about. We train for self-discipline and for focus and for concentration. And all we need to do, the best way that I've found to do it, is to concentrate only on your movements. Like, one thing that we would do in the theater, we'd say, is the crowd does not exist. The crowd does not exist. It does not exist before you go on stage. It doesn't exist while you're on stage. They only exist after the production is done. That's when they exist. So this way, all you're doing is focusing only on your performance and what you've done. You've rehearsed it over and over again, and you just act as if it's another rehearsal. The same thing applies for when you're playing music live. It's the same thing when I was playing with any of the bands that I was involved in. The crowd does not exist until the song or the set is done. I personally relish it. I love it, performing in front of people, but a lot of us don't. Some of us hate the idea. But this is just a fact that everybody experiences stage fright. My thought, my suggestions to you is to don't concentrate on the crowd. I mean, the crowd is there. I mean, whether you're in a stadium or you're in a small class, it's still pretty tough being in front of people. It's just a fact. Actors, dancers, musicians, singers, models, it doesn't matter. It's all pretty hard. But the best thing, or at least in my opinion, the best thing to do is to focus only on you. Focus on what you're doing, because the crowd does not exist. The crowd does not exist. It doesn't exist before you step on stage. It doesn't exist when you step in the venue. It only exists after you're done. When you're done your demonstration, your sparring match, it doesn't matter. It does not exist. The crowd doesn't exist until after the fight or the event is done. This allows you to single-mindedly focus on what you're doing. Do not focus on the crowd, because that's a distraction. Think only about what you are doing. Think about what posture, think about what you need to do as far as your posture is going. Think about what you need to do as far as your weapon placement, where it is in any given point in time in space, whether it's behind your back or in front of you, or especially if you're even demonstrating with a partner, a sparring partner, or you're even sparring, especially when you're sparring, because you need to have your mind all together during that, because it's against an opponent. So, in closing, best thing to do as far as dealing with stage fright, don't think about them. The crowd does not exist until after it is done. Focus on you. Focus on your movements. Focus on what your next posture is. Focus only on you. We all practice martial arts for self-discipline and concentration and focus. Bruce Lee said, let me put it to you this way. Bruce Lee said that it's like pointing a finger at the moon. Don't focus on the finger, because if you do, you'll miss all that heavenly glory. Stage fright, when you give in to stage fright, it's basically like looking at the finger. But when you focus on yourself, when you focus on only yourself, only your movements, and you do it just as good as you did it in the rehearsal hall, or your dojang or wherever. When you focus and you give the performance just as good as you did, or even better, then when it's all said and done, and you get the approval from the crowd and the judges, and you feel that experience, you've experienced that heavenly glory. These are just my opinions, but I hope any of these tips has helped any one of you. And if you have any ideas or any other ways to elaborate, please leave it in the comments below. Thank you very much. You have a good one now.